I was been supposed to change up. I was been supposed to fold all this pressure. I was been supposed to change up. Nigga, what would I look like? I come from the hood, I represent the only way up. Had to hustle, boy, I'm trying to touch the toy. I'm trying to fuck these LA streets up.
Welcome. I want to welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. It's your boy Jalen, and man, you know, it was tough, man. It was a tough weekend for the kid, man. There was some high highs and some low lows, man. Let's just start it off. For people that know me, and that listen to my college basketball special or March Madness special, you know that I picked North Carolina to win it all. And if you know me, you know that I'm a huge North Carolina fan. North Carolina has been my team since birth. Most of my family on my father's side are from North Carolina, so I'm a North Carolina fan. So you can understand the hurt that I experienced when Auburn blew us off the They blew us off the court. I think we lost 97-80. Auburn couldn't miss, man. Auburn could not miss from three. They hit damn near 23s on us, man. Man, you know what? Let me play something from my North Carolina Tar Heels.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good time that made us. All right, let me cut that off. Before we get clapped.
And on the other hand, though, yesterday, the Duke Blue Devils lost to the Michigan State Spartans 67-68. You know, I understand about ratings. I know that, you know, the Final Four ratings are going to take a hit because Zion isn't in it, or there isn't really a blue blood in the Final Four. I understand the NBA is going to take a ratings hit in the playoffs because LeBron's not going to be in it. But I'm happy, man. And look, I'm not a journalist. I'm a person that has a podcast. This is the Unpopular Podcast. I give my unpopular opinions. I give my opinions about things. So there's times when I'm not going to be objective at all. I was happy as hell that Duke lost because I'm a North Carolina fan. If you remember, I had North Carolina Duke in the national championship, and I had North Carolina winning. At the end of the day, I had Duke losing at some point. Unfortunately, my North Carolina Tar Heels had to take an unexpected L. At least unexpected for me. But if Duke lost too, I'm going to be all right. You know, that's how fans are. That's how fans are, you know. Like Redskins fans. Oh, man, Redskins are trash. We can go 0 and anything. We can go 2 and what? 14. Those two better be Cowboys wins. I'm a North Carolina fan. We better be. I don't care if we lose every game. We better beat Duke twice and beat them in the ACC tournament. You know, it's funny, man. I was watching the game, and Duke went on this massive run in the second half. I'm like, dude, I think they went on like a 21-4 run. I said, yo, here it goes again, man. Everybody was hitting. RJ Barrett was hitting. Zion was hitting. Cam was hitting. I was like, God damn it, bro. Here it comes. And then the defense of Michigan State pulled through. Cassius was hitting. Everybody was hitting. They hit the game-winning three. That pretty much sealed it. RJ Barrett went 1-1 at the free throw line, which definitely sealed the deal. Hey, man, Duke's out. Duke is out. Duke is out. Now, we all know Zion's going to the league. We know R.J. Barrett's going to the league. We know Cam Reddish going to the league. We know Trey Jones is going to the league. But as of right now, Duke is gone. So it's North Carolina, but Duke is gone. But let's look at the Final Four teams for a second, because clearly in my college March Madness special, I didn't expect this to be the Final Four. So let's just talk about it a little bit. So you have Auburn, who became the first team to pretty much dethrone 3 of the top 5 most winningest programs in March, which is Kansas, North Carolina, and they beat Kentucky yesterday 77-71. Michigan State, like I said, they beat Duke 68-67. UAV won in a nail-biter against Purdue in overtime, thanks to a last-second floater by, I forgot homeboy's name. It's kind of like French or something. But he had a last-second floater that sent it to overtime, and then was it Carson Edwards? He was hooping. I think he had like 42 points that game. And Texas Tech for beating Gonzaga. You know, it's funny. It's you're gonna see a lot of analysts today, and until the next game is played, and saying, "Oh, we knew Texas Tech was this good," or "We knew that Michigan State was probably the team to beat," or "We knew that Auburn was gonna be great and was gonna make a deep run." No, they didn't. Nobody thought, unless you went to Auburn or unless you went to Texas Tech, nobody thought they were going to make it to the Final Four. Nobody thought Texas Tech was going to beat Michigan. Nobody thought Texas Tech was going to beat Gonzaga. Nobody thought Auburn, including myself, was going to beat Kansas. I didn't think they were going to beat North Carolina. I definitely didn't think they were going to beat Kentucky. And if everybody thought Michigan State was so good, they wouldn't have been a 2 seed in Duke's bracket or Duke's region. So all these, I knew, can miss me with all that. But here we are. UAV will be playing Auburn, and Texas Tech will be playing Michigan State. And from what I've seen, Texas Tech has made me a believer, and Auburn has made me a believer. I also have a little bit of I don't want to root for an ACC team. Especially an ACC team that beat us, as in North Carolina, twice this year. But the Texas Tech they're long, they're athletic, they're great Well, they're great defenders, whatever. I'm not going to take away from them. They're great defenders, and they've been scoring. They've been scoring at will. They scored at will against Gonzaga. And Gonzaga is one of the best defensive teams in the country, or was one of the best defensive teams in the country. Yes, Michigan State beat Duke, and Michigan State is a tough team. Man, I give all the respects and props to Michigan State. Their coach is great, Tom Izzo. They keep losing player after player, and they're still here. They're still solid enough to be in the Final Four. And I knew that Duke was going to lose. I'm not just saying this because I'm a North Carolina fan, but I didn't think Duke was going to win because they didn't have enough shooting. Zion's not the best shooter, and Duke, out of all the tournament teams, Duke was the worst 3-point shooting team, and it showed yesterday. If Cam Reddish isn't hitting, if R.J. Barrett isn't hitting, and if Trey Jones isn't hitting, they're not hitting. Period. And that's what you saw in the second half after that huge run. So I knew that Duke wasn't going to, I thought, and I had an assumption that Duke was not going to make it to the final. Make it to the championship. Or let me not say that, because I had Duke in the championship against North Carolina. I knew they weren't going to win because you need shooting. And Michigan State exploited that towards the end. Of course, like I said, R.J. Barrett missed that last-second free throw. But Texas Tech doesn't really have that problem, at least right now. Texas Tech is firing on all cylinders, both defensively and offensively. So I have Texas Tech beating Michigan State and sending the program to its first national championship appearance. Now, on the other side, it's something about Auburn, man. And I'm not, you know what, I am just saying this because they beat us. You beat Kansas. You beat North Carolina, who was the number 1 seed. In that game, you lose one of your best players to a torn ACL, and you come out and you outwork, you out hustle, you out defend, and you outshoot Kentucky, who a lot of people had them winning it all, even as a 2 seed. And now you have Virginia, who hasn't looked like if Kyle Guy's not hitting, or if DeAndre Hunter's not hitting, the team it struggles. Now, the thing that I've been saying about Auburn, and I even said this in the preview special, is that they're small. Auburn is a very small team, but in their size, they are a scrappy team. And they will shoot the cover off that ball. Everyone can shoot on that team. Everyone. From the point guard to the ball boy. Everyone can shoot. And they will put up at least 33s. It's just crazy because against North Carolina, they hit about 20 of them off. So my championship is Texas Tech. Now, of course, if I'm wrong, okay, look, I'll be wrong. This is my opinion. This is the Unpopular Opinions podcast. This is not the Unpopular Opinion. This is the Unpopular podcast. I guess it's just my opinion. So, but I have Texas Tech and Auburn in the championship. And there's something about, I'll just save that. I'll save my championship winner for the next episode. And on the women's side, Oregon beat yesterday. Oregon beat Mississippi State, with number 1 Mississippi State, 88-84, and UConn beat number 1 Louisville, 80-73. I remember saying I think Baylor can win it all, and I think they still could. But UConn's, they're not looking like the UConn of old that's just running through people. But UConn looks good, and Oregon looks great. Oregon kind of stumbled and was struggling coming into the tournament. But Oregon looks good. And maybe it's just recency bias that I just saw them. But Oregon, they knocked down Mississippi State. And Mississippi State was, I think, had them like second in winning. Like, if it wasn't Baylor, they had them. I don't know if they're going to win. But it's hard for me right now to go against UConn or to go against Oregon. Because they both look good. Now, yes, Baylor has been on a tear, as well as Notre Dame. Notre Dame did have a scare yesterday or 2 days ago, but they pulled through. So, of course, you have Baylor and Notre Dame, but UConn and Oregon looks good, man. UConn and Oregon looks good. And in the NBA, just a quick, thing. So it's official. LeBron James is shutting it down. And I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when. Because there's no point of playing anymore. There's no point of wasting your LeBron's time. There's no point of wasting the Lakers' time. You're not playing for the playoffs, so why would you have a... Yes, he is LeBron, and he is pretty much a robot and Superman, but why would you have... He's still in the 16th year. Why would you have him out there playing meaningless games? Especially when, wink, wink, you're trying to tank to get a better position to get, wink, wink, a certain player from Duke. Again, I knew it was coming. That's not really groundbreaking news. And I'll talk about this next week, maybe, or I'll talk about this in a podcast coming up. The Lakers could be in some trouble, man. Like I've hinted about this in previous episodes, but come this offseason, the Lakers can be in some serious trouble. I'll talk about that in episodes to come. But yeah, don't just think that. Don't think it's gonna be sweet for LA or don't think it's just set up to be sweet for LA next year. So that's all I'm going to say about that for right now. And lastly, before I get to my two outstanding guests today, there was a report that came out saying that Kristaps Porzingis is being investigated for rape allegations. The details that came out were quite disturbing. And the Mavs knew about it before they, of course, traded for Porzingis. I don't know if he did it. Of course, he's just being investigated. He hasn't been charged or anything. I don't know if he did it. I don't know. You look at situations like Sean Oakman from Baylor, where he was charged or he was accused of rape, and the details were disturbing. And then years go by, and we realize, and it comes out he didn't do it. I don't know if Porzingis did it. If he did do it, he deserves whatever he gets. But if he didn't do it, then he should look. You see, in the public, you're pretty much innocent until proven guilty. I mean, no, you're not. You're guilty until proven innocent, and even still, people will still think you're guilty. Again, I don't know if he did it or not. If he did do it, then he deserves whatever comes his way. But if he didn't, let that man live, man. Don't let. Of course, he has his money, but Don't let a person's life get affected for something he didn't do. We see that a lot, and we've seen that a lot recently. KCP is young. And again, I'm not absolving him from anything. Let that man live, man. If he didn't do it. I'm not gonna say he did it or not, because that is irresponsible. And I'm not gonna say he didn't do it, because that is irresponsible. Because I don't know. I don't have any details except what was released. But I do know this. And this is something that everyone, including myself, needs to do a lot better at. And that's mind your business. A lot of people don't like to hear it, and a lot of people think that's offensive for some reason. But mind your business. Let that man live his life. Or let that man handle what he needs to handle. And worry about your own stuff. So for the unpopular topic of the week, I invited two people that have been on this podcast grind for a while, man. They are the host of the 10,000 Jumpers podcast. And they've been grinding, man. It's my man's Jarrell and my man Bobby. They are the hosts or the personalities for, like I said, the 10,000 Jumpers podcast. And, you know, when the Kyler Murray situation happened with the whole scouting, and they were pretty much slandering his name, people that didn't even know him. You hear that a lot in the African American community. And I wanted to talk to them about being African American, trying to make it, and how I feel that African Americans have to do more. Even a lot of them are the most talented, some of them are the most athletic people, but they still have to do more. And their window of error is a lot smaller than a lot of other people's, or a lot of other races. Let's just keep it a B. And also, not to spoil anything, I want to talk about hip hop and hip hop's relationship with sports. Check it out. With us today, man, I want to, first of all, let me tell y'all a couple things about these two guys right here. I've been, this is episode whatever of the podcast, and when I first started, I caught on to 1,000 Jumpers podcast. I didn't know what it was. I saw a screenshot of a show rundown. I'm like, what the hell is this? I listened to it, and that so I got my man Jarrell and my man Bobby. I don't know if you want to put his government out there, but it's crazy.
My name is lit.
It's crazy. These two are the most complete opposites on the podcast, but it works.
It works, dog. It's the weirdest thing ever, bro.
Yeah, man. I don't really like him, so.
Yeah. But I do want to thank these two, man. Like, again, they don't understand how integral their podcast was into me starting mine.
Bro, he's already used better words than Jarrell has in our whole 3 years. So that's a dub.
And that's crazy. But again, I want to thank you guys. I want to welcome y'all to the Unpopular podcast. And as many people know, this is a podcast where I give my unpopular opinion about sports.
So basically, if this was a tweet, you would be going viral right now, because that's all I keep saying. Unpopular opinion, work edition.
Hey man,
fam, and most of them opinions is not unpopular, fam.
And see, that's the thing. Sorry. That's the thing, because it's funny. It's funny because you're not the only person that said that. But
I think what it is, I'm not gonna hit y'all with the most unpopular yet. I'm gonna let my podcast grow, so that once the viewers start coming, then I'm gonna start hitting with the unpopular slaps.
Uh-oh.
So, but
He's got
today,
his black men take to a few months down the line.
hey, that I'm trying to tell you, just wait until I start hitting them 1Ks and it's a wrap.
Man,
But
men ain't. Oh man.
but all right. So I thought that when I was thinking of this episode,
hmm
I thought the 1,000 Jumpers podcast crew, the duo, would be the perfect people to talk about this topic, and that is how integral hip hop is to sports and vice versa. So you see, I did a podcast a couple episodes ago about how shoes and how the shoe game was integral to sports and vice versa. But to me, you see it more in hip hop. Now, of course, you have other genres. You have pop. I remember Taylor Swift and LeBron James was on a cover of Rolling Stones one time.
They called him
But
ape.
they call yeah. And the thing is, when you look at it, and hip hop's always been integral in sports.
Absolutely.
You look. Kobe had a trash album. My favorite player ever, Allen Iverson, had a trash album.
The jewels, man.
My man Shaq had a couple albums.
The goat, yeah, the goat, goat guys.
He went platinum, by the way.
Platinum certified.
He did go platinum.
How many does Jordan have?
Oh Lord Jesus.
Yeah, what's the goat at now?
You're about to experience a real 1,000 Jumpers episode, Jalen. I'm just letting you know. Like,
man, I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I do appreciate it, but as you see, and even now, like back a couple weeks ago, you saw LeBron James, AR, and 2 Chainz' album. It's like
with the deluxe.
With the deluxe. That's crazy. Did y'all see the interview?
yeah, it was dope.
Hey,
my
G.
G.
Man, the deluxe. You add like 2 more songs,
Right.
and make it deluxe.
Like, so you got 12, and I think 2 more equal 14.
That's like deluxe. And
Man, he gave us the head blow emoji.
Even Joe Budden said, like, come on, dog. 2 Chainz has been like, my nigga, deluxe.
Yeah, you know when your man's is too high, you just got chill, man.
Yeah, just chill. But how do you see where I'm coming from? As in, hip hop has been into even back in Uncle Luke and the Miami Hurricanes. Like, do you see how hip hop has I guess shaped sports? I'm not gonna say shaped. Has been integral to the popularity of sports.
You want to go first, Jerome?
Yeah, so they're very synonymous with each other. I mean, a lot of our favorite athletes come from the hoods because this is their only way out. Mm-hmm. And with hip hop being, from the hood, from the urban community, it's been their soundtrack. Yeah. If you want to go like the Fab Five, what made them dope, they were dressing like rappers. I mean, the music they were listening to was rap. They weren't listening to, like Billy Joel. Like, they were listening to rap. Like, that's what made them. Them was like, oh, they listen to Daz Effects and Nas.
Yeah. Who the hell is listening to Daz Effects?
I'm saying the Fab Five. Like, I was speaking specifically them. Relax, Rob. But like when you think about like just athletes and sports, and Rob's gonna be like, really? Like, Drake said a quote was like, rappers and ball players, we want to be them and they want to be us. Like,
you do realize someone said that years before Drake?
Yeah, I'm just remembering.
He didn't invent the deluxe.
And that's funny you say that, because look at it. Iman Shumper's a rapper now. Marvin Bagley's a rapper.
Marvin Bagley raps?
Yeah, Marvin Bagley raps.
He's a young black guy in America.
Lonzo raps. Dame Lillard. Hell, I got both his albums. It's just, I think now in the social media age where, information and you can get things out a lot quicker and to a lot more people faster, I feel that this is the time that embodies the I don't want to say wannabe rapper because that sounds like you trash. I mean, but to pursue other things. You know what I mean?
I can tell y'all what it is.
What's up?
I can tell y'all what it is. I mean, do y'all want me to? I don't want to blow people's bubbles or nothing.
Rob,
All right, the
we
boundary
here
entries
for.
is lessened. Okay, like let's just be real. Okay, in the '90s, early '90s, you didn't see a lot of people or '80s or where do a lot of different things because a lot of certain occupations were looked at as like kind of specialists. Like if you play basketball, you have to be the best basketball player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we want to see you play basketball 24/7. Well, once the advent of a bunch of scrubs and stuff like perceived, like once the media coverage, you start to see everybody's stats 1 through 10. You're not just looking at the top three Bulls on the team. You're looking at the whole roster nowadays. You know the guy from 1 through 12. Okay, so you
Yeah.
understand totality that hey, the guy getting 8 points a game, you know he's in the league too. So you people stop crapping on people. Now, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? As far as like, oh well, now you're in the league. So now, and same thing with rap. It's like anybody can rap now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's allowed to rap.
That's true. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I don't
Yeah.
have to be great at it, then I can do two things and be good at both, or be average at one. Like I don't want to see LeBron. Like back in the day, you wouldn't see LeBron James doing the rap thing. Why? Because you have to be the best basketball player.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you don't. You're on a team. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So, oh, sorry. What were you saying, Drew?
No, I was gonna say like if you look at like when Jordan and Barkley, let's say like the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the 80s, they weren't raised on rap. Like rap
but I
was.
mean, you didn't see any jazz albums. You didn't
I
see any
mean,
R&B albums.
but
No,
I'm
but
saying
see, Jarrell did make a good point, and I sorry to cut you off, but you made a
no, you
good
good.
point there because, and Rob, you made a great point too. It's like what you're raised off and what you see and how you grow up. That's what you're gonna shape your life around. Like you look at
Mm-hmm.
LeBron. LeBron in every interview I see, he always has to say, which makes sense, and I do the too, but he always has to say, growing up in Ohio, we didn't have much. I had the streets, I had basketball, and I had music. You see that a lot more. And back in the day, while Jordan and Charles Barkley grew up, all they had was basketball. I mean, unless they were pop blocking the Curtis Blow or Grandmaster Flash, they weren't doing much of that.
They weren't.
And you even see today, like Charles, and he's hilarious as hell, and he's sort of like the get off my stoop old man, but he makes points that you know these a lot of basketball players' focus might not be what it was back in the day. Like back in the day, your focus was to be like Michael Jordan said one time. Michael Jordan said, "My focus was to be the best basketball player ever.
Mm-hmm.
If we were gonna win, I wanted us to win because of me." You don't see that nowadays, and that's because I think money got larger. I think contracts got bigger, and I think
Yep.
Well, I mean,
think
that's definitely a given.
yeah,
Um,
and
you
even
go ahead.
I'm sorry, and even you see like 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 KD makes more money off the court than on the court. Which, and I'm not, and even him and LeBron dropped that track like a year or two ago. It's just,
I do it real big.
oh Lord, it's just you have to. It's like you don't have basketball doesn't have to be your number one focus. I'm not saying that they're not focused on basketball, but basketball or football doesn't have to be your number one focus. And
Yeah.
you even saw, speaking of football, you even saw back with Michael Vick. I think Michael Vick was the first athlete. Michael Vick and Randy Moss were like the first athletes that really, like their campaign slogans integrated hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michael Vick in the Michael Vick shoes and the cornrows
Mm-hmm.
and the headbands. Like Michael Vick to me was the Allen Iverson of football, as in
Mm-hmm.
he led a generation in. Of course, you had hip hop back behind that. When Michael Jordan's growing up, and all you see is Bill Russell and a whole bunch of mailmen playing, it's like, okay, I want to do this. But then, like I said, you grow up and you see, how integral hip hop is to your life. Like Jarrell said, you're gonna want to do that. Your life is gonna embody what you grew up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also hip hop is more accessible than any other genre of music. To be an R&B artist, well, generally back when I was growing up, you had to actually be able to sing. So I don't know too many people who play ball and can sing. Not saying you
Shout
can't.
out
Victor
Victor
Oladipo,
Oladipo.
I would say
Yeah.
PG County, Victor Oladipo's amazing. But like, I can. That's one person. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you couldn't necessarily do R&B. I mean, like, and if you're like a rock star, like you gotta learn to play the guitar or something, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's hard. And as a person who, like, when I was younger, I played the instrument and played ball, it's like it's hard to do both, especially as a kid, because I mean you don't really get that attention span anyway. So
It's true.
I mean, it's more accessible, and I mean I think it's just a black thing. We're the athletes now. Like everybody, like growing up, like in the '60s and '50s and all that stuff, we weren't the dominant athletes. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's a fact. Like
Like
if you, oh, I'll let you finish.
we weren't the poster children, and now we
Yeah.
are. Like we drive the culture. Like when you look at basketball, how much what's the percentage of black people playing basketball in the NBA? Something crazy. NFL, same thing. So it's like, yeah, our culture is going to infiltrate this just because we are.
Yeah. So what are you saying, Drew? My fault.
No, I would say like to piggyback off Rob, like we dominate at a point where now, and the difference between the NBA and NFL, the NBA is now catering to our culture.
Mm.
Hmm.
You
So,
know, when
like
AI was the driving force he was, they were trying to limit it by,
Yeah.
photoshopping his tattoos, enforcing the dress code. Now you can pretty much do whatever, and the NBA is for that. The NFL, however, they're not for it. And now you're seeing that with contracts and all of that. But hip hop has been the soundtrack. Whether we're playing Madden, like remember like playing Madden, or my favorite soundtrack ever is like either NBA Street Volume 2 or NBA Live '04, because I'm like, I never heard this much rap
Yeah.
in a video game, and it's like, yo, like I know these songs. These are dope.
Hell, you have rappers now that are like executive music
Yeah,
producers.
I mean,
for
remember
video
when
games.
like I think 2K13 was when Jay executive produced it, and
Exactly.
everyone was like, "Oh man, this is so much rap music on here. Like this
Yeah.
is a big deal." But
Yeah.
it's like,
Didn't
but I mean, I
Travis
think
produce this 2K?
Yeah, Travis
I,
did, and I think so Nas or LeBron or something did like a couple years back, like.
yeah, I know LeBron did a few years ago.
So you're definitely right about that, man. You're definitely right about that, Drew. I didn't really think about that. So
But,
let me ask you this then. Since we're pretty much in agreement that hip hop and sports pretty much go hand in hand, do you think that how am I going to put this? Do you think that hip hop would not be? Do you think hip hop is as strong as it is today because of sports,
no,
or is that just I guess, branch of it? You know what I mean?
yeah, music is music. Like, soccer or whatever white people were playing. What baseball didn't drive rock. Um, just like basketball doesn't drive hip hop. Like there was hip hop stars before we was accepted quote unquote into the NBA.
Hmm.
And I mean, music's music. Music's always been around. So
Okay.
I think if black people didn't play basketball, we wouldn't have anything to do with basketball, and hip hop would still be hip hop.
True.
I agree with you, Rob. However, because hip hop's been a driving force, I think it is kind of helped the evolution. Like in other genres of music, the athletes that we love were never in the lyrics. Like whether it's football and like think about it, like Killer Mike won a Grammy by saying I catch bombs like Randy Moss.
Yeah. He
And
did.
that's
Yeah.
and when I see Killer Mike and all the amazing things he has done, the first memory I have of Killer Mike is I'm catching bombs like Randy Moss. Like and now I'm thinking of like, yo, he just mentioned Randy Moss in a rap song, or the Jada Kiss Allen Iverson commercial, right? Like there's
Oh,
there's
one of my
moments,
favorite. I'm sorry, one of my favorite commercials of all time, by the way.
yeah, and rightfully so. But I'm saying I wouldn't hip hop would be dope without it, but with the athletes kind of giving it that cosign, saying they making it cool. Like they to me made like a lot of white people listen to hip hop, because like my favorite players listen to this, that I should listen to this. Or my favorite player, like you saw Porzingis saying I had cornrows because of AI.
Yeah.
And
That's
if
what's up.
you get that from like the hip hop culture, then
MC Hammer sold 15 million records in what 91?
something
Yeah.
like that.
Who was
That's huge.
Who was the biggest guy in the league in 91?
It was Jordan.
Jordan.
What hip hop bone does he have in his body?
I mean, that's what I'm
We were
saying.
selling out before. Like it's great that the integration happens and all that stuff. Like as far as like, yeah, one hand is watching each other right now. We're giving each other, but like, nah, it's not. Hip hop is not dependent on that. Like
Oh, it's not.
15
I'm not
million
saying it's
records is
dependent, but it's
15
definitely
million
helped.
records.
It's not
Like, I mean,
dependent, but it's help.
sure,
You know, I,
sure.
I hear what you guys are saying, and I agree on both parts. But I do think though that hip hop is understanding the temperature, and the temperature is if I connect myself with the biggest athlete or the biggest sport, then my sales will go up. Look at Travis Scott. I just went to the concert a couple, so look at Travis
Mm.
Scott. Travis Scott drops an amazing album, Astroworld. All of a sudden, Travis Scott is the music executive producer for 2K. He's on. You can hear his music on NBA, ESPN. ESPN. You can hear his music. He's in commercials with 2K. Like,
Hmm.
and that is not just him. Like Migos. Migos is a huge one.
Yep.
Migos. They have Sprite commercials with LeBron. They have shoe commercial with Foot Locker and hip hop. They have, it's like I think hip hop is understanding that okay, we are great as a brand and as how we are, but if we attach ourselves to like basketball or we attach ourselves to Odell Beckham, then
Oh.
we can sell more or we can be on a
Actually,
Wait,
bigger platform.
can I chime in on that
Yeah,
to
no.
add to your point, Jaden? So I'm trying to remember where I saw this clip. It was like, yo, and we can all say we've watched ESPN for the majority of our lives, right?
Yeah, correct.
hmm
And when we were growing up, they never played rap
Ever.
hmm
ever, right? And then now it's like they know that in order for us to connect, like again, once they declared hip hop is now the best selling genre,
hmm
like it's the most grossing genre. Like ESPN, like when we're watching sports on NBC, ABC, CBS, it, they're flipping it to hip hop now, which is
hmm
awesome. But they understand like this is it. We got to tap into the market. Like back in the day, it was whatever rock song by like Kiss. And no disrespect to Kiss, but it was like okay, that's cool. And that's how like for me, I learned rock music. I learned it through watching ESPN. But now it's yo, we playing latest Migos record. Yo, we're playing this new Travis Scott record. Like we're
Yeah.
premiering these songs on the air,
But
and
yeah,
that's what they know. So I feel like now they if you're a league and you know your league is black dominated,
Hmm.
then you're like, I gotta play the music that represents my league. Like for baseball, they're not playing hip hop. Why? It's a lot of Dominicans and white people that dominate. Like black people don't dominate baseball, but we
Yeah.
dominate football and basketball. So they're like, if we want viewers, granted we got a lot of a white fan base, but if our players are black, we should dedicate it to them, which is why it's getting bigger and bigger.
yeah. But I think that's brands. I think it's like the inverse. I think that's brands realizing the power of hip hop and not necessarily hip hop. Like because we don't need that stage. Like Travis Scott was on the Super Bowl stage for how long?
Like
Yeah.
3 minutes.
A
5 minutes, if it.
song.
And he's got crazy,
What
like
is
you
it?
said,
Wasn't
block.
SpongeBob on longer than him?
Yeah.
Probably. I didn't even watch the Super Bowl really. But
Jeez.
like, and that's the thing. Like, he's got a major album. He's doing all these super duper shows and everything. He was on stage for 3 minutes. Like that, it's not needed. You know what I'm saying? I think other people are seeing the power of hip hop. Like Sprite had the little summer rapper series or whatever with like Vince
Yeah.
Staples, Lil Yachty, and all that. Like
Yeah.
they're seeing that they need to align with us. We are the new wave. Not hip hop saying like if that was the case, we just making all types of jingles. Like an album would be 16 different like advertisements or something. You know what I'm saying?
That
Like
is that is
let's maximize this and just do mad advertisement songs. Like no, they see that we are without lack of a better term, we are the shit. Like we are every
yeah.
black
And
music, black culture. That's it. Like that's what's pushing everything in America. America sells entertainment. Who's the best entertainers? Who's the most influential? Black people. So now
and
you see the backdrops with the rap music on the ESPN fade
yeah.
outs and things like that.
And it's crazy cause and on the other hand, this generation and these last few years is the first and only time I've ever seen a album rollout on ESPN. Carter 5 drops. The first thing Lil Wayne did was go to ESPN and talk about his first take and everything.
Oh,
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I don't know how many times I've seen 2 Chains on TV in
Yeah.
the last month. It's like on ESPN in the last month. And he was on what, Fox Sports. So what I'm saying is, when I do understand, I do agree with you about the brands, but I do also understand that with the brands and with the sports, hip hop is tapping into a industry that, like Jarrell said, growing up, they haven't really had to tap. I think now, I don't think they have to, but they understand how integral it is to get that sports fan, to get little Johnny or little Timothy and be like, oh man, I just saw 2 Chains on First Take arguing with Stephen A. Smith, saying that Paul George shouldn't even be top 5 in MVP. I don't know what he was going with there, but I just saw 2 Chains on First Take. Let me go listen to his album. And those are streaming services. That's money. I think hip hop as in general understand, and sports understand, how integral those two markets are for connecting. You're not gonna. I'm almost sure that if everybody or majority of the people that listen to hip hop didn't watch sports, sports would not be as, or at least the the sports that are predominantly African American wouldn't be as popular as it is today. And it's not just basketball and football. Look at boxing. My man Wilder comes out with rappers. Justin Bieber connected himself to hip hop and it almost destroyed him. You saw Miley Cyrus. She done crossed over a couple times. It's
Yeah.
like
I mean,
they're
everyone wants the sauce.
yeah, they're understand. Everyone wants the sauce, and that right
But we're but in the same breath, you're not
That should be the
seeing
name of the episode, by the way.
should be.
but you're
Like
not seeing too many black artists reach out that way. Like, as far as like, you don't see them like, yo, let me get a Katy Perry or something on my record. Like, if it happens, it happens. But they're not like, yo, I need this pop star. And
that's
like,
true.
I think,
We're the
like I
new
said,
pop stars.
I think it's like I think it's them seeing the cash that we bring. Like, I don't think it's us saying, man, we really need the NBA. Like, we don't like
Now, but what I do
at
know,
all.
and what I did find out doing this research for this podcast, is a lot of hip hop artists send their songs and send their tracks to the stadium, as in like the
Hmm.
basketball the arenas and the football stadium that they can play on the jumbotrons and stuff like that, or play
Hmm.
throughout the thing. So they understand that they're connecting with another audience, and that's pretty much what I'm getting at. They understand that while they would survive without sports, because it's been like that forever, they will survive without sports. I think they understand how important and how integral whoa, and how integral it is to tap into that sports culture for their popularity, for their sales, and just for hip hop in general. Again, look at Drake. I don't know how many, every Drake album has a line about an athlete. Hell,
Yep.
even Kendrick
But
had a
I mean,
line
that's
about.
because we watch sports.
And,
I don't think it's a correlation. Like, I just think it's just that's just what it is. Like, you can't say, hey, if everybody just didn't watch basketball and listen to rap, like, that's not gonna happen, and vice versa. Like, I could not watch basketball. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And that could just be just a choice I make. But like, I'm not gonna like not watch basketball because they don't have hip hop on it. Like you said, we watch ESPN our whole lives. They just started incorporating hip hop music, right? Did you start turning off the channel when they had rock drops?
No, because
No.
at the end of the day, is what
Sports
we
is
watched and
sports.
cared about, but we knew that was the norm.
There's
Like
an
even rap.
enhancement to it. It's like it's good to hear music that you actually listen to day to day to be included. That's a plus. But you're not going to turn your back on ESPN. ESPN could never play one black artist for the rest of their existence right now. And you're going to tell me that you would stop watching ESPN any less?
No,
It
no.
wouldn't. It just wouldn't happen. like,
True.
and that's not saying either one has less or more power. It's just how it is. I think they're mutually exclusive. Like, those, it's like it's cool that you can get money together, and it's proven throughout all these deals and things and representation and all that yes, we can get money together. But I also think they're two separate entities
Mm.
because I mean, shoot, like you said, all those boxers got hip hop. Boxing's a dying sport. Like
That's true.
the ratings and things and pay-per-view sales and all that have been going down for years. Like, and Floyd is Floyd. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's very true. So Jarrell, speaking of Jarrell, we're pretty late on the podcast tip, but Jarrell did just have a birthday, a couple moons ago. So we did want to wish Jarrell a happy belated birthday, man.
Appreciate it,
Before we
man.
go on any
Appreciate it.
further. I didn't realize how much support this man has until you get on Twitter. I was like, oh my gosh, man.
Nah, it was overwhelming. I'm not even gonna lie. I was just like, man, like I got a lot of love. So that's all I really wanted, man. Just people show love. That's
Man,
it.
they were throwing throwback pictures. I said, this is Jarrell. You know what's funny? For the people, for podcast people, go take out behind the curtain. It's actually the first time me and Jarrell I've heard this man's voice.
Facts.
Same with Rob, man. This is the first time. And you see it, you see how genuine it is, bro. But I do want to thank, again, you guys. This is the Unpopular Podcast, and this is a transition. So, African Americans are when we look at the major sports, as in football and basketball, African Americans pretty much dominate the sport, and that's statistical. That's you look, and I believe the NBA is about 95% African American or minority.
I can believe that.
Oh, that's definitely a fact, probably.
And if you look at the NFL, specifically the draft, you look at how they cover African Americans. Going, trying to go from college into the league. And you see that, I feel that there is a correlation to how hard it is for African American, at least quarterbacks for sure, to make it to the league compared to Caucasians. Now, what was homeboy's name with Kyler Murray, Jarrell?
Charlie Casserly, former GM.
Charlie Casanova. He's just a recent example of he never even met Kyler Murray. And all you hear is Kyler Murray can't read, Kyler Murray is dismissive, Kyler Murray won't be able to understand a playbook. And you hear that all the time. You heard that with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson went to 2 national championships, won one, and won a Heisman, yet I don't know if Deshaun Watson can fit in the league. I don't know if he'll be able to understand the playbook. You even heard they said that about Cam, as in Cam Newton. They said that about Michael Vick. They said that about Deshaun Watson, who right now is probably the Texans' best quarterback of all time. They've said that.
Nah, David Carr's the GOAT.
Are you Rob?
Bro, he used to get slaughtered every week, man, and still
they didn't
play.
do anything.
I wouldn't do anything. He was like, I sacked 50 times.
Man,
He
was
got sacked 72 times.
You know it's bad when you're a top 5 pick ever, and the highest rating you ever had on Madden was a 70.
Have you seen that line?
No, the thing is, they never had an offensive line.
Damn, you would die. Vic would have played 2 seasons.
That's true. But what I'm saying,
it would have been a little bit longer than 2.
Yeah, no, he would have ran into getting hit just like he did in Atlanta, only much quicker.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, come on.
But what I'm saying is, bro, is that, and it's not just football. Basketball's a little different. Basketball, you could do something wrong and they will never live it down. Mm-hmm. Or you can be accused of something, didn't do it, and still not live it down, like Kobe.
Kobe wins the Oscar. Kobe the fuck out of here.
Kobe wins the Oscar last year.
Rob, come on, bro.
Oh, sorry.
He wins the Oscar last year, and the first thing I hear is, oh well, he did rape a chick. No, he didn't. She clearly lied. Like, I don't know how many times people.
Did she lie?
I don't know, bro. That's what it said.
He scored a lot of points.
All I'm saying is that
scored a lot of points.
I feel it's due to the media, due to, I don't know what it is. I just think that it's a lot harder for African American athletes. Even though we dominate the sport, it's still a lot harder for us coming
I'm
up.
gonna chime in first.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so it stems from the very beginning. Like in terms of we can do all the skill positions. We can be your running back. We can be your wide receiver. We can be your offensive line, defensive line. We could be the safety, the linebackers, and over the course of NFL history, we have defeated each and every stereotype with ease. Whether it's we're talking running backs, you got Walter Payton, you got Jim Brown. We're talking wide receivers, you got Jerry Rice, you got Lynn Swann, you got John Stallworth. If we're talking,
Hold up. Did you just say Lynn Swann before you said Randy Moss?
no, here I'm going historically.
As long as you started off with Jerry Rice.
I respect it though.
No. I mean, and you got Randy, but I'm saying like you have a lot of great people. When it came to black quarterbacks, they were never given a fair shot. They thought we weren't smart enough.
Mm-hmm.
And even with Doug Williams winning it, you thought that would put to bed. Nah, like I tell people all the time, like to me, I wish Steve McNair would have been drafted like today.
Mm-hmm.
He would be a black superhero. Like,
and people don't
pick from an HBCU, top 5 in the Heisman.
And I don't mean to cut you off,
he would have been God level. Like,
yeah, people don't realize Doug Williams didn't even start that Super Bowl. He came in for an injured. What's his name? And
I mean
Schroeder.
Yeah, Jay Schroeder. Like he started the Super Bowl. He didn't start that season. No, I feel what you.
Reason why 17's my top 2 favorite.
But I look at like you look at just the quarterbacks. You said Deshaun, or the one where it really got me, the person who did beat him in Heisman that year, Lamar Jackson. And I remember shout out Wilson. We had this conversation. He was like, Jarrell, they gonna do that. They're going to mess with Lamar. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just watch. The narrative's going to change. Mm-hmm. It's going to go from he's an amazing quarterback who was playing in a pro-style system at Louisville. Yeah. The only reason Louisville was relatively successful
was him,
right?
Yes.
And then, he can't read. All he does is run first. He can't do this. And it's like, did y'all not watch any Louisville games? He won't translate. Maybe he should be a wide receiver. It's like, guys, Louisville was horrible.
That's the same thing they said about RG3. Same thing they said about RG3. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. It's like, and when you mentioned Cam and Vic, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could say what they wanted about Cam and Vic, but their talent was so undeniable. Yeah. They were number 1 overall picks regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at like Deshaun Watson should have been a top 5 pick, but he was the third drafted quarterback of Mitch Trubisky, and then another black quarterback that people don't even know is black. Patrick Mahomes black, and he could arguably be the best quarterback we have today. And they don't want to crown him as that. Like they're already crowning him as the new face of the league, and they don't even realize he's black.
How is he the best quarterback?
One of.
I think he can be.
He
can be.
You told me.
He won the Super Bowl.
Your first season, you definitely can be.
He won the Super Bowl.
Well, if it wasn't for D4's fat thumbs, I mean, he might have. If
it was a fifth, I mean, I'm sorry, guys.
And you did touch on a point, Jarrell. I think that because quarterbacks are so integral to a team, teams don't want to. They don't want to fail on the backs of African American quarterback. I'm gonna just say it.
It's the truth.
You don't want to draft a Russell Wilson at number 1 and he be a bust. So then they're looking at you.
I'm not drafting Russell Wilson at number 1 regardless.
What I'm just saying is an African American quarterback. Like you don't want to draft. All right, let me give a better example. You don't want to draft a Cam Newton number 1 and he be a complete bust. When you have a David Carr or you'll have a Mr. Trubisky in the weeds, no GM wants a Tom Brady situation. And I'm saying is you pass on him until the 6th round. Like no GM wants that, especially if you go and pick ups. Nobody wants a Jamarcus Russell either. And I think that Jamarcus Russell really was he started a bad precedent for African American quarterbacks.
Jamarcus Russell did?
I
You don't
wouldn't
do
say he started it,
Not
but
Ryan Leaf.
he
No, but-
definitely reignited some of it. But
Yeah.
it was gonna be there regardless, and it's still
Let's
gonna
just say
be
what
there.
it is, man, guys. Come on, let's just say it. Okay, blatant racism in America. America has been created and manufactured on the back of racism. Okay, like that's just what it is. Okay, you can't have this completely biased coverage of like you can have the exact same quarterback and one be black and one be white and have completely different coverage of them. Like if when that occurs, we just gotta call it like it is. Ain't no reason to beat around the bush, guys. It's racism.
Yeah.
Next, also I mean, it happens to white people on a lesser level. I mean, how many times have we seen Chris McCaffrey like, ooh, he's got sneaky speed, or he's
But
just
they
like, no,
always say if
like
it's a
fam, he's a
white
track
guy, they
star.
always say sneaky speed though.
And that's not the same thing as like, oh, you're good for a black quarterback.
No, it
That's
is the same
that's the
thing.
same. Like, fam, like if I go to a park right now and there's a white guy who's 6 feet tall and there's me who's 5'6", and they say, hey, who do you want on your team? Hey, guess what? I guess I have a higher chance of getting picked because I'm black. Like simple as that. Like I
But-
know people who have more physical attributes than me, and just simply because I'm black, like, oh no, he can play. And it's like, and I'm not saying that's obviously equal.
But I think Christian McCaffrey will have more opportunity than Tyreek Cohen or than I don't know back in the day Marshawn Lynch. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll look at Christian like, okay, he's the
Hell
safer.
no.
I think they'll be like,
Christian
he's
McCaffrey's a safer pick as a white running back than a black running back.
I mean, he was though.
I can name
like,
a million
he
black
was,
running
though.
backs, and I can name 5 white running backs.
bro, they look for that. Like, why you think Tariq and Christian are very similar style running back? I mean, Christian's
and you think
bigger.
Christian was exactly like that matters.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but fam, like Christian was in the running for the Heisman, bro. He's a first round pick.
And
Tariq was a
you
fourth round
think Tariq should have been in the running for the Heisman?
I didn't say he should have been in the running for Heisman, but if we want to make equal, it's like Toby Gerhart was a first round pick, right? Toby Gerhart was not nice. You compare Toby Gerhart.
Neither is Trent Richardson.
No, but check me out.
Whoa,
you
hold on.
compare
Trent
Toby
Richardson
Gerhart
was
to
a-
freaking.
He's trash. He's always been
to what?
trash.
I think he was in the same draft class as LaShawn McCoy, who was a second or third round running back. You see the
Okay.
difference? Who's still playing?
People get mispicked all the time.
I agree with you.
I'm not going to nitpick drafts because there's horrible GMs. Like what?
I mean, you look at David Gettleman right now.
Oh,
And he's
Christian Hackenberg had a higher profile than Russell Wilson. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
This is what I'm saying, and this, and like I said, like I can call it both ways. Like I'm gonna call a spade a spade. When it comes to black quarterbacks, we are fool to think that it's completely disrespectful. I am a Heisman Trophy guy I hype Heisman Trophy winners. Shout out, Jarrell knows this, right?
He
And
does.
it was an immediate slap in the face the moment I heard someone suggest Lamar Jackson be a wide receiver. Like, this guy is the greatest quarterback, the greatest player in the country.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell him that once he goes pro, he should switch positions.
Switch position. That thing
How?
next to Braxton Miller.
But see,
See what happened to
here's
him.
the thing. No, check this out, right? When I look at USC, Ohio State, like if you want to look at the Michigan-Ohio State robbery, right? They can go toe to toe in all skill positions, wide receivers, all of that. But when it comes to quarterbacks, Michigan has Tom Brady. Who does Ohio State have? Dwayne Haskins, to me, is maybe the first really good quarterback they've ever had.
So what are you saying?
Troy Smith wasn't good, bro.
But what? No, I'm gonna say what's the point of you making? Like, are you
No,
saying
but
Michigan recruits better quarterbacks?
No,
Correct.
I'm saying, like, if you look at, I mean, they got one lucky. Like, you look at Braxton. Braxton was never a great quarterback. Like, he was a great athlete. There's certain quarterbacks you watching like, yo, they're a dope athlete, but they're not a great quarterback. They're really inaccurate. That
Tim
was never
Tebow.
Lamar Jackson. That was my point with that.
So
I'm saying, you look at Lamar Jackson from the very beginning. This dude is single-handedly like willing his team to victories.
So then that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
So then that really shines the question: are these GM notes and scout notes? Are they taking? Do they hold too much weight when we're looking at a player and it's like, okay, I look at a Lamar Jackson. I look at a RG3. I look at a Deshaun Watson. I clearly see that they are leaps and bounds better than anybody in
Mm-hmm.
college. But or I look at a Zion and they be like, okay, he's leaps and bounds better than anybody. But if a scout,
He's overrated.
if 15 scouts go, well, I don't know. Lamar Jackson, I don't think he's going to be able to understand the playbook, or you might have to switch to running back or no wide receiver because his mechanics are off. Do you think that scout notes or GM notes like homie that did Kyler Murray's, do you think they hold too much weight on a potential
Yes,
star's
Yes.
future?
yes and no.
Wait, are you
Um,
going first or am I going first?
yeah, I can go first. Yes and
Okay.
no. Simple because I mean, if you're the GM, ultimately you have the decision of who you draft, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, obviously his opinion will hold a lot of weight, I guess. I mean, he's the ultimate gets to make the choice. So, if he seems like, I mean, you can be ignorant and stupid and whatnot, as a GM. I mean, you're perfectly allowed to be a dummy, okay, in any job you have. So yeah, like if you look at Lamar Jackson and say, I don't think he can play in the NFL. Like you can be an idiot, like you're like, and no, I don't think you should have a job if you say Deshaun Watson isn't NFL ready. But I mean,
I'll
they do.
I'll say I'll say they do have weight in a sense where, to me, if the Ravens didn't trade up, remember they already picked. They had to trade back in the first round to get Lamar Jackson. If
Mm-hmm.
they didn't trade up to get Lamar, Lamar would have been a second round pick. And Lamar's talent screams first round. Screams first round, right? Now you look at
Talent.
no talent, skill set, everything. He's a first round.
Talent. He didn't blow. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. You know I am. Talent.
Which
He
is
played for the Rams. I mean, for the Ravens. Um, it's not like he blew the doors off of passing.
But without him, they wouldn't have made the playoffs.
true.
True.
They
Yeah.
weren't winning games.
But they tailored a whole, and I think that's another thing that people have to realize. Like sometimes with some quarterbacks, you have to tailor a whole system, and it is easier to take a plug and play white quarterback and say, yeah, I've got the West Coast offense. We can play this thing. I can plug in any guy who's got marginal
But
athleticism and a cool arm.
I say this, and like to answer your point and Jalen's question. Look at Lamar, those scouts. Again, Deshaun Watson to me was the most proven quarterback in his
Hmm.
draft class. Mitch gets drafted first. Shout out the Bears, they made the playoffs, but you put Deshaun in the Bears uniform, and I think they're a better team, right? That's that. Now to answer your question, you know, sometimes it's about trusting the process. You look at Russell Wilson, right? He beats out Matt Flynn, but he wasn't necessarily great. How the Seahawks were winning games, they had a really dope running game in Marshawn, a really
Hmm.
great offensive line, and they had the Legion of Boom. So all you had to
Hmm.
do was make a couple throws, and as he got comfortable in the system, he can do more. And that's what works. Now he's considered a really good quarterback. But they trusted the process, similar to what they did with Brady. Like Brady wasn't out here slinging the ball his first few seasons. When they were winning Super Bowls, he wasn't slinging. They had a really good defense, good running game. All Brady does is not mess it up. And then when you finally
But
get the reins, let the dogs out. Like
but
some people get it immediately, like Cam throwing for 400 in his first game, which is still a record. Some
mhm.
people it takes time, but if you know it takes time and you're going to throw them in, cater to them, which allows them to be nurtured, and then once they go, they're surefire.
But
And
that's
like Lamar,
hard.
Lamar started well, and watch, he's going to get better.
But
Like
that's
that's why it's
hard.
Browns Ravens for the foreseeable future in the AFC North. Like
I'm just saying.
that's it.
You can't discount that. That's hard. Every team isn't built to. Every team doesn't have a top five all-time defense like the Seahawks did, and allowed Russell Wilson to just get better at quarterback. If I want to win
I
this
agree with
year,
that.
I'm not like I'm a Lamar Jackson stan. I'm not drafting Lamar Jackson with my number one overall pick if I want to win this year because I have to change everything on my team.
But look at the
Like
quarterbacks
you
got picked
do.
before, though. You know what I
No,
mean?
I'm not saying no. We can and see that's another thing. I think these are two mutually exclusive points. Like we can completely acknowledge the ridiculously biased coverage of black quarterbacks and black athletes as a whole. Like that is completely true. But it's also true that if I have to change my whole offensive system for one man, you better be Jesus.
You better be Jesus.
Like I'm not doing. If I'm the Patriots, why would I draft Lamar Jackson? Like if I had the number one overall pick right now and I was the Patriots, I'm not drafting Lamar Jackson. Why would I? Like the Patriots don't have the defense to counter his mistakes. They don't have like if I want to win, if you're expecting the Super Bowl, Lamar Jackson isn't going to lead you to the Super Bowl in the first year. Like he still has to learn certain things. Like just like every other quarterback, but it's easier.
All right. All right. So where can we find you guys at, man?
Man, you can find us
It's
on a lot of
iTunes,
platforms: iTunes, Spotify,
Spotify,
iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, SoundCloud.
anywhere you can play a podcast.
We're there.
Holla.
That is one.
Amazon, you can go on Ask
It's on
Alexa. Yeah, you
Amazon.
can do that too.
Oh, shoot. Oh man, they doing big things. They on iHeart and Amazon. Oh,
Yeah,
Man,
we cool,
yo,
man.
imagine a girl like, yo, play some 1,000 jumpers, and then like I just come on, yo, what's good, my? Like, yo, I'm just trying to expand my female audience.
Again, I want to thank Jarrell and Bobby and the cast of the 1000 Jumpers podcast for being on the Unpopular podcast. It's always a blessing for people to be open to being on the platform that I've created for myself. Again, I'm going to put all their information in the description below. And I want to thank you guys for listening. So before we go, I usually do a game of the week, chronicle a game that I think you should watch, and give suggestions on why I think you should watch it. But I'm not going to do that this week. You know, this is a sports podcast, and I like to keep it strictly to sports, but there are times when I get a little personal. Hey, it's my podcast. I do what I got to do. And yesterday, LA rapper Nipsey Hussle was shot and killed in front of his clothing shop. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. And I'm not a Nipsey Hussle stan or anything, but I did enjoy Nipsey Hussle's music. You know, I'm not a religious person at all. I don't really do religion like that. I'm a very spiritual person. I take my relationship with God very seriously. And I tell people all the time, whether they want to hear it or not, I don't care if you're living the most straightest life possible. I don't care if you're the grimiest person in the world. You should always be as close to God as possible. Because you never know when God pulls your card and calls you home. I don't know why God allows anything to happen in this world. But I do know that you should live every moment and enjoy every moment. Nipsey Hussle was a father. He was a family man. He was a rapper. He was a businessman. And above all that, he was a person. I don't know. Of course, I didn't know him personally. He was a rapper. I don't know what if he was doing things behind the scenes, like negative things. I don't know if he was doing illegal things. I don't know. I do know that whatever he was doing, nobody deserves to have their life taken. And now you're forcing his loved ones to have to pick up and rearrange pieces that they never agreed to the deal. Now someone's got to explain to his kids what happened. Now someone's got to explain to his loved ones why he ain't coming home. Again, this is a sports podcast, but this is my podcast. And I don't know if YouTube's going to clap this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a moment of silence, and then I'm going to play, like I did with Mac Miller, I'm going to play an entire Nipsey Hussle song. if YouTube mutes the song, of course, you can always find the podcast on multiple streaming services: iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, the works. But just know that I am playing an entire Nipsey Hussle song. Nipsey Hussle was, it's crazy. You don't really get to see, and it's unfortunate, but you don't really get to see the fruits of your labor when you're alive. But he was able to. Again, from what I heard, he was a great father, and he was a great businessman. He was just different. I haven't heard one bad thing about Nipsey, dead or alive. When he was dead or now that, unfortunately, he is dead, even when he was alive. So, again, this is the Unpopular Podcast. This is your boy, Jalen. This is a sports podcast, but this is also my podcast, so I can talk about what I want to talk about. Rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. You will forever be loved, forever be listened to. You left a legacy that I don't think a lot of people can even think about leaving. And again, this moment of silence is for you. Much love.
Initials on my wallets, smoking with my stylist. Custom German plates on all my cars, 'cause bitch I'm ballin'. All in burning crosses, was royalty regardless. Honestly, I'm honored just to represent the progress. Distant as I seem to you, I know what I mean to you. Martin Luther King Jr., hustle, let me dream through you. When I told my scheme to him, told me that I seemed stupid. Empty engines need fueling, yeah, I was like my theme music. Now I keep them legs Cuban. Money talk, I speak fluent. Everybody buying rollies. You can ask my team's jeweler. Life is but a dream to us. Life is why they need music. Got them wrapped around the corner, looking like Supreme through it. 'Cause when you cook it right, the fiends use it. Come take a look at life, how we view it. You gotta start off in a cheap Buick, and then book a flight and seat to it. That's first class, my first pass. It's big shit, nigga, like when birds pass. 7 grams, I got to a bird fast. And Brian Hurt staff start busting on my church pass. DOA, you gon' be okay. That's what my granny used to say, but I ain't see a way. Sitting in the county jail, I pray I see you today. Most successful nigga got an ass up on his face. Fuck the world. Fuck the world. They hate a young nigga that can fuck your girl. They hate a real nigga when he touch a meal. Hate you if you fake, but hate you more if you real.